Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
What's up, guys? I'm Ace.
This is RB3.
And this is our review of Captain Marvel, MCU's newest release. It came out this weekend, and we have thoughts. We're going to get into our spoiler discussion on this video. And yeah, I think the biggest significance of this movie so far is the fact that it is MCU's first official female-led movie. There was Ant-Man and the Wasp, but I feel like this is the first title superhero female character for the MCU.
Yeah.
And it's tracking really well as far as box office wise. It's way better than I thought it was going to do. But we're going to get into our thoughts right now. First, we want to talk about our general thoughts. So I want to start with you, RB3. What are your general thoughts as far as the movie as a whole?
Overall, it's challenging going into a movie like this because it does have a big kind of context going into it, right? The whole idea of it being the first MCU's big female titular character. And in that respect, it has an expectation that's already like pre-built in. So like whatever you think of the movie going in is already gonna kind of influence, what you think. So going into it, I kind of, there's, and kind of sidetracking, just to give myself a little context of how I went into the movie personally. I've been looking into a lot of like critical studies, and there's a lot of this kind of idea of looking at a movie. You know how they say critics have to look at the movie that was made, not that the movie they want to be made, or the movie that judge the movie that is, and not the movie that you want. There's kind of a deeper discussion of that, of like judging a movie based on the genre it resides in, right? Like judging a movie based on what it's trying to go for. And outside of Captain Marvel being a big female superhero-led movie, I also feel like the targeted thing they were going for was 90s action movies. 90s action movies aesthetic, 90s action movie styles, 90s action movies writing in particular. So judging based on its ability to enact that genre, it did a really good job. It did a really good job encompassing the 90s action movie genre, 90s action movie kind of thing that it was going for. Unfortunately, I also think that's a little bit of that movie's downfall. I think the writing in the movie particularly borrows a lot from a lot of those kind of movies, the Point Breaks, the big 90s movies that a lot of us think of. And I think it goes for the cheesy one-liners and the goofy lines and the kind of over-the-top plots, and which I think is cool and interesting, but I think they kind of really wanted to walk a line between spoofing that genre and making it a serious thing because it's presenting the first big Marvel female superhero. It teeters that line a lot, and I think for the most part it's successful. I think it's like 80% successful, 20% didn't really work for me, but overall it was a positive experience. Overall, I enjoyed Captain Marvel, and overall I took a lot from it. That I really did.
Yeah, I think we have to talk about what we went in thinking initially. I personally initially was very cautious going into this movie. I saw a little bit of the reviews, and most of the conversation and most of the reviews were very mixed, to say the least. I know there was a lot of controversy going into this movie. I don't,
controversy outside of the movie itself,
which I don't think it's necessary bringing up, considering that everything that Brie Larson is doing, I think, is a positive influence in the industry itself. And I think people really misunderstood that and what she was trying to say. But outside of that, just the reviews that I read beforehand were very mixed from people that I trust. So I was like, yo, I don't think this movie's going to be that great. And I guess that's why I liked it probably more than anyone I've talked to so far. I really enjoyed this movie, man. I thought what's funny is that the thing I like the most is the plot. I think the plot is the star of this movie. Sure, some of the writing and some of the beats and some of the comedy moments don't always hit, but I feel like the plot of the Kree being this special ops, autocratic, tyrannical, imperial kind of, community and world that is going against the war of against the Skrulls for so long, and kind of going into other worlds and other, instead of nations, it's other worlds, and kind of dictating their own ideology. I think that concept itself is just what sold me. The fact that the Kree are like a special ops nationalistic unit, And then she finds out that, wait a minute, I've been on the wrong side this whole time. I thought we were the good guys. And they sell themselves as like this progressive thinking society. But in reality, they're super nationalistic and crazy and very like autocratic and tyrannical and authoritarian kind of society that goes into other worlds and attacks the people that they want to attack. I think that to me was like, oh, that's so cool. I think that's the coolest thing ever. It's like realizing you were working for a world that lied to you, deceived you, manipulated you, and does that to the rest of its people. Like that's what the Kree does to their own people, and the Skrulls are just refugees looking for a home. That entire plot that's the plot of the movie, and that just sold me.
You know, I walked out of this movie, and the first thing I said that, when I saw it was that this is really the best Star Trek movie they've made of this decade.
Yo, that's
really,
good.
It really does feel like an episode of Star Trek expanded out into 2 hours. The whole idea of getting to know a species or a body of creatures or aliens, thinking they're the bad guy, actually communicating with the enemy and realizing there's a much bigger enemy that you've been manipulating the entire time. I think it's a really good subversion of the science fiction genre. And that being said, though, I will say, like, the first 20 minutes of this movie, I was like, whoa, what is going on?
The first 20 minutes of this movie, I was like, yo, this movie's perfect.
Yeah, really.
I was sold. I was like, yo, the Kree is like a special ops unit. Yo,
it was cool. It felt like it jumped into it really fast. But then I will say though, like when it got to me, this movie really hit when it got to Earth, and when Brie Larson gets to interact with like people like, you know, we see Clark Gregg back as Phil Coulson, Samuel Jackson, of course, is de-aged Nick Fury. It was great seeing all of that, and it was, again, it's, you know, them going into the 90s action movie thing they had the perfect opportunity, and they executed on it, of having the quintessential 90s action, you know, movie star, Samuel Jackson from Die Hard 3, Long Kiss Goodnight, you know, Pulp Fiction, all these like great 90s movies. He's playing essentially what he was playing back then now, and it's just really funny how it all ties back. But I really enjoyed those aspects of it. But
yeah, I think the thing that sold me the most is that plot, and the fact that you like you said before, Star Trek is kind of the thing you referenced, but my thing is like anything having to do with space and species and creatures and intergalactic wars and all that super comic booky nerdy stuff. I that's very catered towards me as a comic book nerd and as a nerd in general. Whereas some other audiences, I can feel if they weren't as connected to that storyline because maybe they're just not as immersed into it, or it's not as immersive as something like a Guardians of the Galaxy, which is much more immersive into that kind of like space opera, space adventure kind of movie. Let's move on to our title character, Captain Marvel, Brie Larson. I feel like when it comes to negative reviews, most of the negative reviews have referenced her as a weak point in the movie. What do you think of her character, and do you agree with those reviews?
Well, honestly, I don't. I mean, I've only seen the movie once so far. I'm probably gonna see it again, either today or later. Maybe not today, but tomorrow or like another day or something like that. And honestly, like in watching her do her performance, a lot of people have been criticizing it. I mean, I watched all these reviews mainly after I saw the movie. I kind of stay away from reviews before I see them. But
yeah, for me it was Twitter. Twitter did it for me. Twitter reviews.
Yeah, Twitter reviews. Yeah, but. You know, a lot of people called her stoic. A lot of people called her like lack of personality. I wouldn't really personally use that as a criticism for her. I don't think we criticize the male heroes when they're stoic and when they have no personality. And I think there's plenty of action movies throughout the decades where the main star is just the most blank-faced person in the entire world. And I really don't think it's a fair criticism for me to say that she's not doing the same thing. In fact, I thought she had a little more of a lively side to her, honestly. Like when her and Samuel Jackson were joking around, she had some emotion. I felt like interacting with her best friend that she meets a little later in the movie, and her daughter. I feel like there's a good range, and I think Brie Larson is such an incredible actress. I think Brie Larson, every performance she does, she brings something very subtle and very quiet and very much like in the eyes and the eye contact. I think they did a really good job. And not to mention the directors, Ryan Fleck and Anna Boden, two of the most brilliant directors. They did Half Nelson with Ryan Gosling and Anthony Mackie back in like 2006. They did this great movie with Ben Mendelsohn.
Was it Mississippi Grind?
Mississippi Grind, incredible movie. So they're great at character moments. They're great at character performances. I thought she did a really good job too. I felt like this was a more heartfelt movie than origin story than a lot.
Yeah, I really feel like to be honest, I don't get the criticism from her. And I get that her background is that she doesn't know who she was and she was raised in the Cree, but not for that long, and that she has this whole backstory that she doesn't really get to explore. I get that. But with what she was given, I enjoyed her character. I felt like her motivations as far as her realization of what she was actually working for and what she was actually a part of, and kind of neglecting her emotions and neglecting her ability to question authority. That to me was the biggest thing that stood out, because she was like, oh no, I totally get to question authority. And if I do, I can realize that maybe authority is a bad guy in this situation. So I dug that. And her in itself as being just a badass character, I 100% was on board with Brie Larson. But you mentioned her best friend, Rambo was her name in the movie. One thing that really stood out to me, and I'm going to get right into it, I immediately, the whole time they're going back to this backstory as far as like, oh yeah, we hang out together, and they show flashbacks of them together, and the daughter shows them pictures of their past adventures and how they spent so much time together that she even calls her Auntie Carol. I immediately jumped to relationship. I don't know if you were thought that. I immediately was like, yo, this was a past relationship, right? It has to be. And I honestly was slightly disappointed that they didn't do that. I thought it would have been, if this was a male character, we could have seen that background as far as like, oh, we were together. We spent all this time together. We like literally basically had like this daughter together, and now you're coming back and not remembering who you were. I thought that would have been way more power. I mean, that's just my personal wants. That's what I wanted. I don't know if you felt that way, or if you didn't pick up on that.
I didn't pick up on that personally. But what I will say, that scene early on, when the scrolls are going through her memories and they're like tweaking and like rewinding and fast forwarding and they're talking over it, I thought that was amazing. That was probably one of my favorite Marvel sequences just ever. I think they have some really great editing moments throughout their films, but that one was particularly like really dope to me because it reminded me of that was again another Star Trek example, but also just it felt very like self-reflexive in like a certain way of like the rewinding of the tapes. It goes to the blockbuster aesthetic, and they do that a lot too when at the end when she's flying in space and like defending off those little spaceships. She's like playing Space Invaders that you keep seeing on the pinball machines and stuff. So they have some moments like that are very funny, and they'll refer to the 90s thing more outside of just being the time period, which I think is really nice.
Yeah, and obviously the soundtrack as well. A lot of people have been talking about the 90s music.
I'm not gonna lie, that threw me out. Like that's what I don't like.
I didn't think it was. I thought it was gonna be way more. I thought it was gonna be like Guardians.
Yeah, like, I thought it was gonna. I thought
it was just like 3 songs.
I thought the stuff on Earth was gonna be a little. But you know what? That's another question. Like, do they toe that line of being like spoofy, satirical with the 90s, or do they just use it as the background? And I feel like they played in halfway in between, but I think it would have been a little funnier if they like either went super extreme with it or super like quiet with it, you know. We
got to talk about the Stan Lee cameo.
Oh,
and the fact that he's reading the Mallrats.
Yes,
that's nice. That's a 90s like kind of like goofy, breaking the fourth wall kind of moment. Yeah, I loved it. Nice. I thought it was great.
I also love the LA trains. Before I had a car, I was a big train surfer, so it was very nice seeing that represented in this movie. I also gotta say too, man, I think that the action sequences weren't like the best like per se, but there were a lot of scenes like the train sequence, the thing where she's breaking out of her memory thing in the very beginning.
Oh, that was great. I think when she was breaking off that ship.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of great like action beats throughout. A little bit was a little lackluster, but it's not really about the action per se in these movies. It's about the character and the origin story. So the subversion of the idea of the hero's myth, the idea that most superheroes have to discover their identity and their origin story. This is an origin story where it's not about discovering identity, but it's about reclaiming your identity, right? Taking back what was stolen from you, kind of the same way as Jessica Jones too, in a similar type of way. But I feel like that is a great like subversion of the origin story in a way that really sets it apart from most Marvel movies. So instead of me just ragging on the shitty jokes or the lackluster action, I'm gonna appreciate it because it does do a lot to change the idea and the mythos of the traditional Marvel origin story.
Yeah, let's move on to the supporting characters. Obviously, the first one is Samuel L. Jackson. What'd you think about his character in this movie as Fury?
I thought it was good. I mean, the CGI was really great. I do think they were a little goofy with the hair. I think the hair was a little noticeably like I don't know if I'm just nitpicking or I didn't think the hair there was really nice. Everything else in the performance was good too. But he was funny. I mean, he harkened back to, like I said, the 90s Sam Jackson. And I thought that was really nice.
Yeah, did you feel, because I personally felt like it didn't feel like the same Fury we knew in the other movies going forward.
Well, it's lighter. It's a more lighthearted. But you were gonna see Nick Fury literally. You know what's crazy? Seeing this movie right before seeing this movie, seeing the trailer for Spider-Man: Far From Home.
That's
it's
right.
Like the old Nick Fury, after.
Not just that, but the fact that you're like, that's not the same Nick Fury. Like, you can just tell.
Well, I'm sure after 20 years, he gets a lot grouchier. I thought the whole thing with the cat and the eye was ridiculous.
Oh,
that was absolutely ridiculous.
That was bad. That was really bad. When that happened, I thought
it was going to be the car crash in the beginning. I thought it was going to be Ben Mendelsohn. Had to be the cat, man. Are you kidding me?
That was pretty bad.
I know. I get, maybe if they didn't make a poster around this cat or put it in every trailer, maybe it wouldn't have been as jarring of a thing. But it's come on, man. It's like you. It was like a joke that they were gonna do that, and I don't know, I don't like it.
Yeah, what do you think about Ben Mendelsohn as the Skrull leader?
He was good, man. He was good. I don't know why he keeps playing the same villain role in every movie.
Ready Player One.
Ready Player One.
I thought of Ready Player One. I was he's goofy in Ready Player One.
Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Rogue One, that's right.
Yeah, but he does a lot of those villain parts. I mean, good for him. He's cashing those checks, and he's honestly he played a more humanistic side. Putting actors and all that makeup, they kind of sometimes just all kind of blend together too to some extent. At some point, I thought I was looking at homie Joel Edgerton from Bright. Some points they were talking almost exactly the same, because they have those big fangs, and, all that makeup. But that's neither here nor there. It's cool.
Plus, is Joel Australian? Am I tripping?
Australian.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Ben Mendelsohn Australian?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, at least put on an Aussie accent for that character. That was an Aussie accent.
I was Aussie. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. I'm not good at picking up accents.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the other supporting character would be, I think her name is Lashana as Rambo.
Yeah.
What do you think of her character?
She's great too. Great too. Yeah, good seeing some African American representation, particularly for women characters in this, and they're clearly setting up the daughter to be the next Captain Marvel, I think. So
I think she's going to come into obviously the whole time travel, and not time travel, but time passage in the future movies. We're going to see the daughter again, and she's going to be older. That's what I was thinking throughout the movie.
Yeah, she's probably already an adult now. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because this 95 and now in Infinity War, it's going to be...
What about the post-credit scene? What did you think of that?
I mean, I guess we can just jump into it. Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, it was great. It literally, I'm assuming it's in the first 5 minutes of Endgame.
I thought that too. I thought it was the same thing as the post-credit scene for Ant-Man, where they just took the scene from Civil War and threw it at the end.
Sure.
I feel like it's the same thing,
Sure, yeah. But it had to come in to play with the whole pager. That's the one connection they had. So the fact that they brought it up again, I was like, yeah, this is what you have to do. It's the logical thing is that you page her and then she comes.
I thought it would be a little more unprediictable. I thought it was going to be a little bit more of a, I thought damn, nobody heard her come in. why Willow just turned around and she's there out of nowhere.
Her power set's completely different in Endgame. She's like super speed now or something crazy.
What's going on, man?
Yeah, maybe she did. Maybe she mastered her power and she has a different level of
that's
power.
Why I thought that part of the movie is dope too, when she was learning to master her thing and fully hone in and realize that the thing on her neck was not a thing to enhance her powers, but it's something to limit herself.
Yeah,
and I mean Jude Law did a great job, and that
Jude Law, man, he was great.
And that betting is. I like seeing Marvel cast these classic actors just for one movie.
and 10 minutes in the movie?
10 movies. 10 minutes. Paying $1 million and you'll never see them in their superhero movie again. You know, I appreciate that. But yeah, it was good seeing Annette Bening, and it was good seeing Jude Law kind of play those roles too. So
Yeah, I mean, obviously, my biggest, I mean, I have a few disappointments, but my biggest disappointments is one, how little we see of certain characters, how little we see of Coulson. Me being the biggest Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan there is, like, I literally have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. t-shirts, and the fact that he was in it for like 2 minutes, man, like, I was so disappointed. I was like, why would you put him in the trailer if you're gonna put him in for 2 minutes? That, and then Ronan. Ronan's my homie. Ronan's my boy. I love Ronan from Guardians of the Galaxy, and I know most people hate his character. I think he's awesome. I think he's one of the best over-the-top villains that MCU has, and the fact that he's in it for 10 seconds, that was so disappointing to me. And then obviously, I wanted to ask you about the third act, because I thought the third act was okay. Was just kind of okay. The action sequences when she fully embraces her powers and she's blasting through ships.
I mean, it's CGI, man.
That's what I meant. I think that's kind of why I was disappointed, because I just felt like, okay, now she's like super OP, she's Goku, and she's just blasting through ships.
Yeah, I don't watch these movies and not expect just a completely CGI like third act anymore. You know, I just don't. Like, to me, it doesn't even register anymore. It's like a unique thing. You know, like. I think in terms of ending action movie scenes, I mean, it was considerably better than like Ant-Man and the Wasp ending. I'm sure. I mean, I only reference that because that was the most recent Marvel movie, but I don't know.
Where does this? I was talking about this with my friend. Where does this rank as far as? I think it's difficult to rank this in the MCU. One of my friends told me to rank it in the MCU, and I was like, I would rather rank it as first movies, origin stories, as far as like Captain America: First Avenger, Iron Man, Thor, Ant-Man. Maybe I don't know if Black Panther counts. Doctor Strange.
That's the origin story. I mean, listen, if you're gonna,
where does this rank in the MCU origin movies?
It's definitely better than the first Captain America to me. Definitely better than Ant-Man to me. You know, I like this a little more than Thor, the first Thor movie, and.
Iron Man is still number one.
Iron Man is a classic. Doctor Strange was really great. Black Panther was really great.
Guardians is still pretty up there.
Yeah, that's more of a team movie though. I feel like that's a team movie. Yeah. You know, some people would consider Spider-Man: Homecoming. That's what I was gonna say. That's also technically an origin story. I'd probably say I like this and Spider-Man: Homecoming probably on the same level. I really enjoy Spider-Man: Homecoming. So yeah.
What about as far as like? The villain problem of the MCU. Did this have a villain problem? Because I think that's the big.
Well, there wasn't really a villain.
That's what I'm saying. Was there really a villain versus someone like
there's Jude Law,
Jude Law, but following Killmonger, I guess, is what everyone is kind of comparing this to.
That was a year ago. Like, what are they gonna do? And Thanos is obviously like gonna be the big villain for the next one. So
sure.
I don't. Who's the villain? Ant-Man and Wasp. I don't know that one either.
Did you not see the movie, bro?
Yeah, I mean, I saw it. That's what I'm saying. Like, the villains really matter. Now the Marvel thing is just such a formula now that it's like, whatever. Like, there's just I don't really care about the CGI, whatever they're gonna do at the third act. I don't really care about.
Yeah, there's usually only 3 villains for me that stand out, and that's obviously Thanos, Killmonger, and Vulture. I love Vulture from Homecoming. I thought he was the best one, one of the best. I still think I would probably put him the best one to me. That's just personally.
Vulture's the best.
Yeah, Vulture and Killmonger like up and down for me.
Yeah. So Loki.
Again, Loki's not. Like, he's not a villain though. Like, when has he ever been even in freaking Avengers? Like, kind of, I guess, but I still felt like, I don't know. I still think like they're deep down inside I was kind of rooting for Loki. Like, in every single movie he's in, even in Thor, even in Avengers, I still feel like Loki is low key winking at the camera, and he's like, I'm not really a villain. I'm just having fun. Like, I don't know. That's just my thoughts on Loki. Maybe that's because I like him so much, and I still feel like he's more of like, I don't know, in the middle between a villain. So not the true villain that we see in other movies. Yeah. So, yeah, all right, man. Give us your final thoughts on this movie and we'll take it off.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. I mean, is it the best Marvel movie ever? No. Is it the worst? Definitely not.
Sure. What's your biggest negative? What's your biggest negative? The fact that it's so 90s? Is that what it is?
No, I just think they use the 90s in the wrong place. I think there's that one action scene in the end where there's somebody who's fighting somebody and Some song came on.
I'm Just a Girl. Gwen Stefani. Yeah.
I didn't. I couldn't dig that.
Okay.
I couldn't dig that. I honestly don't. I like when pop music. I like the needle drop moments when like the needle drops or it plays on the radio. I love those moments.
There was like a jukebox. There was like a jukebox behind it.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just play it on the juke?
Yeah, I was a little.
Was I the only one who thought that? I was like, this song came out of nowhere. You could have like made it fit into the story where she like smashes into a jukebox or something like that, and then it starts playing.
Yeah,
I don't know. That could have been better.
Yeah. I mean, again, like if I guess the overall negative, I feel like it's like they didn't pick a consistent road for what they wanted to be.
Sure.
I think if they would have committed just a little bit more to being either the serious female superhero movie or being the goofy 90s action movie, if they would have committed a little bit more to either side, it would have been really great. But you know.
Yeah, I think people are unfairly comparing this to other MCU movies that are way down the line, like Civil War and Avengers. You can't do that. And also to Wonder Woman, which I feel like Wonder Woman's a completely different character.
Everybody knows Wonder Woman.
Yeah, like compare this to Captain America: First Avenger, and if you do, it's way better than Captain America: First Avenger. Like this, or Ant-Man, or something like that. I think that's a fair comparison. And when you do that, I think I had fun with this movie. I really like. Again, it's very much catered towards me as a comic book fan, as a space adventure fan. So I feel like that's kind of my take going into it. But overall, I like Brie Larson. I like the character. I like Samuel L. Jackson. I enjoyed this movie. I really like that distinction of making Kree the good guys at the very beginning and then making them the villains at the very end. I think that is a really cool exploration of character development of her point of view and how it changes over time. And I bought into it, and I like her character, and I like her connection with everyone else around her. So that's just me. I mean, not everyone has that same opinion, and I think it's fine, but that's just my opinion, man.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, man. I mean, why can't we just enjoy movies now? Man? Why does it gotta be so hard to just be like, hey, we like a movie?
That's the biggest question.
Now you're either sexist or SJW, or it's just like, damn, man.
Or paid off. Which
chill.
Yeah, man, come on.
Yeah.
We're spending money with this.
Come on, somebody pay me. Jesus. Disney, write me a check, baby.
Yeah.
I watch every one of y'all movies 2 weeks early. Tweet nothing but good reviews, man. Avengers Infinity War, 10 out of 10.
That'd be great if we could get paid.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't even do this for a living, bro. Anyways, those are our thoughts on Captain Marvel. Let us know in the comments down below. What did you think of this movie? Give us your spoiler thoughts, since this is the spoiler review. What do you think of certain scenes, certain moments, certain plot lines or plot moments, or the post-credit scene? Whatever you guys enjoy. Obviously, we're looking forward to Endgame, and that's like the biggest hype machine going around right now. I can't wait for that movie. So let us know in the comments down below. What did you think?
You better hit that subscribe button too, baby. We need 1,000 subscribers to get monetized, so that's what we got to get. 1,000, 1,000.
That's all we need. We need 1,000.
And listen, man, we got podcasts, we got reviews, we got discussions, we got long videos, so the algorithm is gonna appeal to us better. You know what I mean? We'll get those mid rolls, baby. Get those mid rolls. We just gotta get monetized first. So subscribe.
Either way, guys, first cut, and for this review, I'm Ace,
This is RB3.
and we are peacing out. Peace out, guys.